At Naval Special Warfare Command Headquarters, Captain Arden Hayes stared at the casualty reports with growing horror. SEAL Team Alpha had lost 5 men in 3 weeks, each mission ending in perfectly coordinated enemy ambushes that suggested someone was feeding their operational plans directly to hostile forces. But when she began investigating the intelligence leaks, the evidence pointed to the one possibility that no one wanted to consider. The traitor wasn't in the intelligence community, wasn't in command, and wasn't some faceless enemy spy. The betrayer was wearing the same uniform, carrying the same weapons, and sharing the same brotherhood as the men who were dying because of his actions. Captain Arden Hayes sat in her office at Naval Special Warfare Command Headquarters at 0300 hours, surrounded by classified files, intelligence reports, and photographs of dead American servicemen. At 32 years old, she had auburn hair that she kept in a regulation bun, green eyes that missed nothing, and a mind that had been trained to find patterns in chaos. Her specialty was counterintelligence, identifying threats to American Special Operations Forces and neutralizing them before they could cause damage. But the damage had already been done. The latest casualty report sat open on her desk. Petty Officer First Class Kellen Price, age 27, killed in action during a supposedly routine reconnaissance mission that had turned into a massacre. He was the 5th SEAL to die in 3 weeks and the 14th to fall in the past 2 months. Something was fundamentally wrong with SEAL Team Alpha's operational security, and Arden had been tasked with finding out what. The pattern was undeniable. Every mission that Team Alpha had undertaken in the past 8 weeks had been compromised in some way. Not failed due to bad luck or tactical errors, but specifically compromised by enemies who seemed to know exactly where the SEALs would be, when they would arrive, and what tactics they would employ. Operation Silent Thunder. SEAL Team Alpha had been tasked with infiltrating a terrorist compound to capture a high-value target. They'd arrived to find the compound empty except for explosives that had been positioned to maximize casualties during their planned entry route. Operation Dark Horse, a rescue mission to extract captured American contractors, had turned into an ambush when enemy forces were waiting in precisely the positions needed to trap the SEAL team in a kill zone. Each operation had been planned using different intelligence sources, different communication channels, and different operational timelines. The only common factor was SEAL Team Alpha itself. Arden pulled up the personnel files for Team Alpha on her secure computer. 12 men, all with exemplary service records, all with top-secret security clearances, all with years of successful operations behind them. If one of them was working for the enemy, he was the most unlikely traitor in military history. But the evidence was pointing exactly in that direction. Arden began her investigation the way she'd been trained, by assuming nothing and trusting no one. She started with communication intercepts, looking for any evidence of unauthorized contact between Team Alpha personnel and outside parties. The National Security Agency provided her with months of electronic surveillance data, phone calls, emails, text messages, and internet activity for every member of the team. She spent days analyzing the data, looking for patterns that might indicate covert communication with hostile forces. Nothing. The SEALs' communications were exactly what she would expect from elite military personnel. Contact with family members, routine administrative correspondence, and the kind of casual interaction that marked close-knit military units. Next, she examined financial records. Traitors were often motivated by money, and large or unexplained financial transactions could indicate payments from foreign intelligence services. Again, nothing unusual. After a week of investigation, Arden was beginning to wonder if the problem might be something other than a traitor within the team. But then she discovered the first anomaly. Buried in the routine administrative traffic was a single email that caught her attention. Petty Officer First Class Kellen Price had sent a message to his brother 3 days before Operation Silent Thunder. "Hey bro, hope you're doing well. Things are busy here as usual. We're planning a fishing trip this weekend. Should be fun, but might be a little challenging with the conditions. The weather shows storms moving in from the northeast around midnight Saturday. We'll probably set up camp near the old dock you remember from when we were kids." Arden stared at the message for several minutes before the pattern began to emerge. Price was describing a fishing trip that would take place over the weekend. Operation Silent Thunder had been scheduled for a weekend deployment. The storms from the northeast could be a reference to the planned approach route, but it could also just be a coincidence. Brothers did talk about fishing trips, and weather was a common topic of conversation. Arden decided to examine Price's other emails more carefully. What she found made her hands shake. Price had been sending similar messages to his brother before every compromised operation. The language was always casual, always seemingly innocent, but the timing was always suspicious.
And when Mila began analyzing the content with the assumption that it was coded intelligence, the pattern became undeniable. Cooper was using family emails to communicate operational details to an unknown recipient. But Mila needed more evidence before she could make accusations that would destroy a SEAL's career and potentially compromise ongoing operations. She began monitoring Cooper's communications in real time, using her counterintelligence authority to track every phone call, email, and text message. She also initiated discreet surveillance of his activities on base and during off-duty hours. What she discovered over the next week confirmed her worst suspicions. Cooper was indeed communicating with enemy forces, but his methods were far more sophisticated than simple email codes. He was using a technique called Steganography, hiding digital information within innocent-looking image files. The photos Cooper regularly sent to his sister contained hidden data embedded in the image pixels. To anyone examining the emails casually, they appeared to be normal family photos, pictures of Cooper with friends, images of local landmarks, routine snapshots that any serviceman might send home. But when Mila used specialized software to extract the hidden data, she found detailed intelligence about SEAL Team Alpha's operations, target locations, approach routes, timing, personnel assignments, and tactical plans. Cooper was providing the enemy with everything they needed to kill his own teammates. Mila faced a dilemma that went beyond normal counterintelligence procedures. If she reported her findings immediately, Cooper would be arrested and the intelligence leak would be stopped. But she would also lose the opportunity to use his communications to feed false information to the enemy, potentially turning the intelligence channel into a weapon against hostile forces. More importantly, she needed to understand the scope of Cooper's betrayal. Was he working alone, or was he part of a larger espionage network? Who was receiving his intelligence, and how were they using it to coordinate attacks against American forces? Mila made the decision to continue monitoring Cooper while developing a plan to neutralize the threat in a way that would provide maximum strategic advantage. She began by creating false operational plans for SEAL Team Alpha. Working with the team's commanding officer, Lieutenant Commander Mitchell, she developed fictional missions that would appear authentic to anyone monitoring the team's activities. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. If Cooper was indeed the traitor, he would attempt to communicate the false operational details to his handlers. Enemy forces would position themselves to intercept the fictional mission, exposing their methods and capabilities while walking into a trap that SEAL Team Alpha would be waiting to spring. Operation Turncoat began on a Tuesday morning when SEAL Team Alpha received orders for what Cooper believed was a high-priority mission to capture a terrorist leader operating from a compound in hostile territory. In reality, the mission was a carefully orchestrated deception designed to expose the enemy's operational capabilities while providing irrefutable evidence of Cooper's guilt. Mila monitored Cooper's communications as the team prepared for the fictional operation. As expected, Cooper sent coded intelligence to his foreign handlers, providing them with details about the team's planned approach, timing, and objectives. What Cooper didn't know was that SEAL Team Alpha was actually preparing for a completely different operation, one that would place them in a position to observe and engage the enemy forces that would respond to Cooper's intelligence. The trap was sprung perfectly. Enemy forces moved to intercept SEAL Team Alpha at the location Cooper had specified in his communications. Instead of finding vulnerable American Special Operations personnel, they encountered a coordinated ambush involving multiple U.S. military units that had been pre-positioned based on Mila's intelligence analysis. The resulting engagement was decisive. Enemy forces were eliminated or captured. Their equipment and communication devices were seized for intelligence analysis, and their operational methods were thoroughly documented. But more importantly, Cooper's communications had been monitored throughout the operation, providing conclusive evidence of his treachery that could be used in military court proceedings. Cooper was arrested immediately after the team's return to base. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Recorded communications with foreign intelligence services, financial records showing payments from enemy sources that had been hidden through sophisticated money laundering operations, and testimony from captured enemy personnel who identified him as their source within SEAL Team Alpha. The investigation revealed that Cooper had been working as a spy for over 2 years, providing intelligence that had resulted in the deaths of at least 16 American servicemen and the compromise of dozens of classified operations. His motivation was a combination of financial desperation and ideological corruption. Cooper had accumulated significant gambling debts that he couldn't pay on a military salary, and foreign intelligence services had exploited his financial vulnerability to recruit him as an asset. The trial of Blake Cooper became one of the most significant military espionage cases in recent history. Mila's testimony was crucial in securing his conviction on charges of treason, espionage, and murder. Cooper was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Mila, the case represented more than just the successful identification and prosecution of a traitor. It had demonstrated the vulnerability of even the most elite military units to infiltration by hostile intelligence services, and the critical importance of robust counterintelligence procedures. 6 months after Cooper's conviction, Mila received a call from Lieutenant Commander Mitchell. "Captain, I wanted to thank you personally for what you did. Cooper's betrayal could have destroyed this team, but your investigation saved lives and gave us the chance to turn his treachery against our enemies." "Sir, I was just doing my job," Mila replied. "No, you did more than that. You uncovered a threat that no one else had detected, and you handled the investigation in a way that maximized our operational advantage. That kind of strategic thinking is exactly what we need in counterintelligence." The men of SEAL Team Alpha were no longer walking into ambushes because someone they trusted was betraying them. They could focus on their missions without worrying about whether their own teammate was working for the enemy. Because trust wasn't just about faith in your teammates. Trust was about having systems in place that ensured your teammates were worthy of that faith. And in a world where the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure often came down to whether operational plans remained secret until the moment of execution, that kind of trust wasn't just important, it was a matter of life and death.